So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session. So my name is Nikki Kimball. I'm one of the educational consultants here at Just2easy. I do the majority of the online training. And for today's session, we're going to be doing an introductory training to the Just2easy tool suite. So first off, a little bit of housekeeping. We are scheduled for a 4:30 finish. So it is an hour-long training. Questions can be asked as we go along via the chat function on the Teams chat. So please feel free to drop any questions that you have as I go along if you want to know anything. Equally, I am going to do a Q&A session at the end of the training. So if there's anything that you want to know, I will offer the floor up. So people are more than welcome to unmute at the end of the training and put me on the spot if you want to. Now, in terms of what we're going to cover in today's session, assuming that a lot of you are going to be brand new to the site or at least not using it particularly well at the moment, we are going to start from the beginning and look at what is Just2easy. We're also going to look at how you can access Just2easy, both for you and the pupils. And then I'm going to give you some tools and activity ideas. So as part of that, we're going to look at JIT Write, so our infant toolkit. The writing tool, and also J2 Create, which sounds like a brand new tool. It's not. So J2E5 has had a new name over the summer and it's been called J2 Create. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to show you how to generate QR code logins for pupils. So really easy access for them to get onto the site. Sharing and monitoring content that your pupils create. Using learning conversations for feedback and assessment for learning. Then I'm going to demo our brand new tool, which is called J2 Journal for digital portfolios, and also the resource library. Then, as I said, a Q&A session at the end, and I'm going to signpost you in the direction of any further support. Now, if I keep looking over, it's because I'm just checking my chat, which is on my second screen. So, if you are brand new to the site, you may be wondering what we are and what we deliver. So Just2easy is a learning platform, and it's designed specifically for teaching and learning and for use in education, mostly in primary education, to be honest. So unlike other tools that are designed for business and corporate use, we are designed specifically for children to use. Now, we want our users to be able to create, share and learn, and to do that as easily as possible. So unlike other tools that are very much around content consumption, we really want our users to be able to create that content creation side of things. So we have a lot of tools that you can do that in. The tools are designed to be cross-curricular, so not just to be used for your ICT, but to be used for English, maths, world around us, early years, any sort of cross-curricular use that you can think of. They are suitable right from your foundation stage, from your nursery classes, all the way up to Key Stage 3 or your post-primary schools. It's tailored support for a range of diverse needs. So the tool suite has a range of accessibility features built in for those that need it. And I heard a very interesting phrase the other week when related to using accessibility tools, in that it's necessary for some, useful for all. And I thought that was a really interesting phrase. So we have accessibility features such as text-to-speech, speech-to-text, word lists, and as I said, some people may find those useful. Even those children that you might not think would want to use those can still utilize those. So those are built into the system. The system is a multilingual system, so you can change the language of the site, including Gaelic, French, Spanish. The tool suite promotes creativity and promotes digital literacy skills. So it really gets your students used to using technology and to be able to manipulate that in different formats. It's integrated into various platforms. So of those, I'm including C2K, so your My School. For my Scottish schools out there, it's included in the Glow platform. And for my Welsh schools out there, it's included in the Hub platform. So these provide a secure, familiar environment for students at no extra cost to yourselves. It supports and promotes strong homeschool links with an inbuilt parent portal. So that is an optional thing. You don't have to use the parent portal, but that is built into the site should you wish to use it. And it's a very easy setup. You can send out QR codes and email invites to your parents, and they then have visibility over what's going on in school. Now, in terms of accessing Just2easy, it's accessible via any device. So it doesn't matter what you're using in class as your pupil devices, Chromebooks, iPads, desktops, laptops. It will work on all of these. And what's nice is the interface will stay the same across those devices as well. So the app isn't going to look any different to the desktop version. The tools are built around an easy drag and drop cloud-based storage area with unlimited capacity. So that is called our My Files area. So much like your OneDrive or your Google Drive, our version is called the My Files. And files can be added into your My Files. They're easy to share and collaborate with other users, classes, schools, and externally. Now, in terms of logging into Just2easy, I have got a huge range of people from a huge range of different areas, so I've tried to be as inclusive as possible. So the managed services that we have, LGFL, C2K, Glow, Hub, and BGFL, you all have your own button. We are present within your own platform. So certainly within C2K, we're in the My School area. You have to click on the right-hand side. It says View All, and we're under the Online Learning tab. Glow, we should be on the launchpad, as should we with Hub, Launch, and LGFL. Now, the alternative way to log in is you can go to j2e.com, and this will come up as our login page. You then choose the relevant button. So LGFL, you would choose LGFL. C2K schools, you would choose your EA. Hub, sorry, I left you out without an arrow. That's my Welsh schools. So you click on the Hub button, and the Glow schools, you will select Glow, and BGFL or Entrust, you choose your Launch button. And then you use your existing credentials to log in. Okay, so no need for another username and password. I know you've probably got quite a few going on. So that's really useful, means the students don't have another username and password to keep safe. They can just use existing. Now, it may be that we've got some manual schools. I did look at the list, I don't think we do. But if you are a manual school, you will have a school name, a username, and a password. But as I said, I don't think we have any manual schools logged in the attendance list. So that's how you're going to log in. That's how the pupils can log in. I'm also going to demo to you QR code logins for the pupils. So that's not available to staff, unfortunately, because of GDPR and all the sensitive data that you store in your own account. But students can either scan the QR code by opening up the camera app on their device, or there is that little QR code button on our launchpad. So they can click that, which will open up their camera, and they can scan their QR code login card, which I'm going to show you shortly. Okay. Right, so when you log in, you will land on what we call the launchpad. So it's sometimes called J2 Launch, sometimes just called Launch or the Launchpad. And this is sort of the home site where all of the tiles then link off to. So just to identify some really important parts of the Launchpad. Your My Files area, in fact, let me show you my Launchpad so that it's a bit bigger. Your My Files area is always that first tile. Now, the J2 Launch has had a facelift over the summer. She's recovered well, and she's got lots of lovely new tiles. So they look very nice and colourful. We've made the names of the tools a lot bigger for the students to be able to identify them. And you'll see My Files looks slightly different to how it did last academic year. So that is where you will find your own work. That's also where the pupils will find any work that they've created and saved. So that is the My Files area, and it's always that first tile there. There's also the library, which is at the top here, and I am going to showcase the library, but sometimes that gets missed. That's full of pre-made, teacher-made content, ready to share with your students so they can access that. So anything that you decide to share as a teacher, the pupils can access that through the library area. We've also got this button here, which is the upload button. Okay, so we can click that and we can either drag and drop content into there, or you can choose files, and that will add directly into your My Files. So that's a question we get asked a lot, is how can I upload content? So you can drag and drop any file in there. So that could be, I don't know, Microsoft Word, could be a PDF, could be a photo, a video. Just drag and drop into that upload area and that will load into your My Files. We've also got along the bottom, this is our just2easy.com button. This is where you can click to find out more about our site. That's also where you access any of the extra training that we've got. So I better show you that, hadn't I? So we're going to click there, then it's the events page, and we've listed all of our training. We've also listed all of our live lessons, which I will talk about a bit later. So those are available there off your launchpad. Then the last two, we've also got the help tile. So this is full of content just to help you get to grips with the tools. So you can write in there any tool that you want to know about, and that will bring up articles and videos. And then the dashboard, which we're going to look at a bit later, but that is the admin area. So only teachers have access to that. So I think I've covered everything. Oh, the last one is you can add tiles. So that is that button there, and the pupil files area. So from your launchpad, there is a button that says pupil files, and that is where you would access any of your pupil content that they've created. We're going to look at all of that a bit later. So that is your launchpad. So we're going to have a go at JIT Write. Now feel free to follow along if you are fortunate enough to be accessing us with a separate device to have a go. Don't worry if not. So we're going to look at JIT Write now, which is our Just2easy infant toolkit. It's this lovely yellow tile. Now JIT Write incorporates some basic word processing functionality. So they can add text, they can edit it, they can change the color of it and the size. It's also got a lot of wonderful accessibility settings built in. So these include things like text to speech, so they can listen back to anything they've written, speech to text for those students that need that extra support, maybe they struggle to get things written down, and word lists. So this just gives you some examples of what we can create. This is very much a sort of a key stage one, just using a clip art background and writing what they were doing. And this is more of a skills progression activity. So this is more sort of your lower key stage two, retelling of the Gruffalo, and they've rewritten it in their own words. That just gives you some ideas of how this could be used. So let me close some of these tabs down. Let's have a look. So JIT is here. Now JIT is actually 8 tools within the same toolkit. So I am just going to show you Write today, but this is a great starting point if you are brand new to the site. Please, at your own leisure, have a look at the other 7 tools that we have available. We've got Paint, Turtle, which is great for your coding. Chart and Pictogram, great for the beginnings of data processing. Animation for your stock frame animations. Branch for branching databases, which certainly features in the English curriculum in year 3, maybe year 4. And then Mix, which allows you to mix all of these tools together with writing as an ebook creator. But we're going to stick with Write. And all of the JIT tools open in a very similar way. So we are prompted to choose a background. So we can scroll down. We've got lots of backgrounds to choose from. Now, if you select one by mistake, don't panic. You've got this lovely red asterisk in the top left of our page. So we can click that, and that's going to open up that button again. Now, if you're working further up the school and you're thinking this looks a little bit childish, don't worry. You've also got the Pictures tab here. So that will open up into our My Files. So anything you've saved in your My Files, you can then write over the top. And this button here, we've got this little globe button. This will feature throughout a lot of our tools, and that is a Google image search. So you can look for, let's look for a forest, for example. Maybe you're doing some inspired poetry, like springtime inspired, or autumn leaves. You can add that as a background and then write over the top. So it's a great way of making it more age appropriate for the older children, whilst keeping that functionality that might be needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's go, Halloween's a bit early for Halloween. Let's go for the beach. So we might be doing a summer holidays, writing about what we did over the summer holidays, for example. So I'm going to write my summer. And there we go. Now we've got the functions along the left. So what I like about this is the students can just click. these font sizes and it will change the size of their font. They don't need to click and highlight because we all know that's actually quite a tricky skill, especially as you go further down the school. Certainly your P1s and P2s would really struggle with that left click, hold, drag of the mouse if they've got mice, if they've got mouses, mice. So they don't have to do that. They can also change the font, and we've only got 6 fonts to choose from. I've lost many teaching hours with students trying to find that perfect font, and they don't have the option here. They only have 6 to choose from. And they can also change their text color. Okay, so they have 16 colors that they can choose from. And there we go, my summer holiday. And there we go. When they've written anything, they can use the text-to-speech in the top right, which this little speech will, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. So that is our text-to-speech. So that logo will feature both in JIT Write, Mix and J2 Create. And we can click that.
My summer holiday.
And it's going to tell me what I've written. So really great for building up that independence for students in their writing. Other things that we've got word lists. Now by default these are closed, so you can see here to open that I just click that word in that bar and that's going to open up my word list. So the word lists are always available, and again this sort of circles back to what I was saying about necessary for some, useful for all. Students have the option to choose to use this or not. It can be a support mechanism whether you think they need it or not, and they can use any of these words. So as they hover over these words, they can listen to it.
Holiday.
And when they're happy, they can start writing. So I went on, and they can click on the word and it's going to write that into their document. Now that works ever so slightly differently on a touchscreen device in that if they want to listen to a word, so on an iPad or something else that you're using that's just touchscreen, no trackpad, they click once to listen to word and twice, so double click to add it into the word. That's the only difference in a touchscreen and a wired mouse device. And then we can write, I saw and I'm going to add in crab, so I'm going to click crab, and there we go. And then I can listen back to that.
My summer holiday. I went on holiday and I saw a crab.
So again, building up that independence, they can listen back and reflect, review their text and make any edits if necessary. Now there are various word lists available, so we can use this little arrow in the top left of my word lists. Depending on which background they've chosen will determine which word list is showing. So because I've chosen the beach background, that automatically opened up my beach word list. But then they can access the word list. The top words is at the top, so that's your high frequency words. So there's about 100 words in there, and they can listen to those and add it in if they want to. Now I'm going to click and highlight. So if your students are working that level, they can highlight and make things smaller. There we go. Now I'm going to add in some speech to text. So you may well have students that cognitively are very forwards, but really struggle getting their written words down onto a page for whatever reason, whether that be a learning difference or a preference. So they can use speech to text, which is the top left. So this icon here. If this is the first time you're opening this, you'll probably need to click allow. So just be aware of that. And then we click on the microphone to record a sentence. We spent a day on the beach eating ice cream. And there we go. Now that does feature in different languages. So we have various languages, including Irish and various other languages that you might want to dip into. So that should, she says, that will work with different languages. And then when we're ready, we click add text. For some reason that's added as black, but here we go. We'll change that. And there we go. And then they can hit their punctuation. So they do need to dictate a sentence at a time, and then they can punctuate it themselves. So that is JIT Write. Last little thing, they do have at the top in all of the JIT tools this record function. So this allows them to record associated audio. So for example, Maybe you wanted some evidence of them reading aloud, or they could talk about what they've learned in that particular activity. They could reflect on the learning as a whole. So they can click on this record button and just hit record. My summer holiday. I went on holiday and I saw a crab. We spent a day on the beach eating ice cream. And click OK, and that is linked to that audio now. So if I click play, my summer holiday, and there we go. So that is saved. So when I'm ready, I click the save button, which is this floppy disk. So it's the orange button. Now, having worked with both special needs and Key Stage 1, I like the fact that when you click the save button, you get a little spinny wheel. So that gives the children some feedback that something is happening, unlike other tools. And not only that, but the save button will grey out. So you've got this ghost button here now. So it means students can only save one version of that, one copy of that version. They can't keep clicking the save button and end up with sort of 20 copies of the same file. Obviously, if they do make any changes, that then allows them to save at the top, and that will save that version. Other thing to point out, you do have the publish to journal button at the top of all the JIT tools. That without showing you the J2 journal, it probably doesn't have much context. But when I come to show you journal, that's what I mean. There is a button in both J2 Create and all of the JIT tools, and that will publish it straight to journal. So that is JIT Write. As I said, there are 7 other tools in JIT. It's a great place to start, especially with the younger ones. So have a look when you get a chance. Now, accessing content. Now that we've created a file in and saved it, that has saved to our My Files. So the My Files area is where work is saved to your own account. So any user that saves work, that will save it to their My Files. Now, as a teacher, you also have access to the Pupil Files area. So that allows you to have visibility over all the work saved by all of the pupils. So it's great, you know, as an ICT lead, that's really handy. As a principal, that's really handy. As a class teacher, that's really handy. So we'll look at these first, and then we'll talk about learning conversations and assessment against standardized frameworks. So from my launchpad, I go to my Files, which is here. And there you go. You can see there's that Write document that I've just created. There's the associated audio. So that actually saves as a separate file. But if I click on my Write document, that's still linked at the top. So I can open anything that I have created from my Files, and that will open in a separate tab. So just remember to close some of those tabs when you're not using things. We can search for content. You've got your keyword search at the top. Now, what's nice about that is it will search in a document as well. So if I look for example, beach, that's going to bring up that Write that I've just done. Even though I haven't named it, it will look for the text. If I look, for example, for crab, oh, not bee crab, crab. Again, that's going to look through documents. You can see it's in this because one of the crabs is features as a character and clip art. So it does search through the document as well. You can search according to file type. So we've got various file types. You can make folders. I know as a teacher, I loved a folder. So you can create a folder. So let's go for, I don't know, summer work. And I can drag and drop any folders or files into that folder. And if I click that, that has opened that up there. Okay. So you can create a folder structure as well. You've got your Dropbox here. So if I open up anything here, I'm not sure what I can add in. I feel like I've already open this presentation, but that's a PowerPoint. I can drop it into that Dropbox, and that has added that. There we go, in there, ready for me to use. And anything, any sort of Microsoft, Google Slides, that will open up using J2 Office. So we are fully integrated with other systems as well. So you don't have to just have J2E or Just2easy files. Okay. So that is the My Files area. Now the Pupil Files As I showed you earlier, there's also a tab off your launchpad, so you can go that way, or if we look within our My Files, there's also a Pupil Files tab here. Now that's going to open up all the classes. Now, because the majority of you from what we call a managed service, so that's C2K, Glow, Hub, LGFL, BGFL. All that means is we pull the data from an external source, so from your SIM system. So in Glow, that would be your CMUS. In C2K, I think it's SIMS or something similar. So all of these classes are already set up. All of your users already have an account, so you don't need to add any users every September. You don't need to faff around with onboarding. You don't need to faff around with moving their classes every September. So that's really useful. However, with some of the smaller schools, that can be a little bit problematic because it might be that you have consolidated classes, or you might be teaching a key stage instead of just a year group. So you can set up your own teaching classes. So the green classes are the preset ones. These are what we call registration classes. The purple ones are smaller groups of students. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but there is a video on our YouTube channel, so that can be really useful. So for example, maybe you've got an intervention group that goes out and they regularly work together. You can set that up. So you can see I've got digital leaders groups, I've got EYFS group, I've got nursery group, maths group 2. So you can set up these smaller groups of students. As I said, there's a 2-minute video on our YouTube channel about how to do that. But I'm going to click in my class 1 because that's my demo class. And here we go. We've got all of our pupils. So Harry and Lottie generally are my demo pupils. You can see in the corner of my folders, I have numbers. So that shows me how many pieces of work those students have created. And those little red speech bubbles, those are learning conversations. So if it's red, it means a pupil has commented on a piece of work. So they might be asking a question, they might be giving some feedback, they might be answering one of your questions that you've asked. So let's have a look at Lottie and what Lottie's created. So Lottie was doing some work earlier on supermarkets. So I can click in that as a teacher and I can see she's doing really well. She's even added a lovely GIF in there. And that is a multi-page J2 create activity. So she's done well. Okay, I can scroll down, so that will give me a view of all of Lottie's work. So really useful. And I've got the option, as I hover over these pieces of work, you'll notice this speech bubble flashes up. So that's our learning conversation. So that's a 2-way conversation between you and a pupil linked to a piece of work. So for example, I'm going to click on that speech bubble. I'm going to say, great work, Lottie. Can you add another page with another supermarket brand, for example, and hit enter. Now Lottie's going to get a notification of that, so she will be able to see that. So just to show you the process, so this is Lottie. Let's log in as Lottie. Too many accounts. Here we go. So here we go. This is Lottie's account. On her My Files, sorry, she has a number 23. So that shows that she's got 23 learning conversations that need some attention. Excuse me, I'm going to have a coughing fit in a second. This is demo number 5 of the day. So these red ones show that she's had a comment from a teacher. So she can click on that, she can see that comment, and she can respond. So she could have opened that up, made those edits, and she could say, thanks, Miss, I have made the changes. There we go. And she can hit enter. And again, that's going to showcase from a teacher perspective as well. You've also got things like thumbs up, record audio. So maybe the child struggles to get some written work down, some written feedback down. Maybe she's a younger student. She can just record that audio instead. You can take photos linked to a piece of work. So maybe they've done some rough work. You can take a photo and that will link to that piece of work. And you can also upload linked pieces of work. So that's great for things like success criteria, assessment rubrics, that kind of thing. So that is a learning conversation. So that's great for assessment and feedback. Then lastly, we've also got progression. So this star here is our J2 review framework. So we can click on this and it allows us to tag a piece of work against a particular framework. Now, depending on which area you're joining us from will determine which framework showcases. So for my GLOW schools out there, the Curriculum for Excellence will showcase. C2K schools, it'll be the SEER tasks. You get the idea. So I'm going to showcase the SEER tasks. So this is what you'll see if you're an Northern Irish school. And we can choose the different curriculum. So using ICT, you could even use the using maths or the communication frameworks as well. You choose the level. So let's look, she's level 4, level 2. And then you can click for which E she is hitting with this particular piece of work. Now, you'll notice if I just scroll in a little bit, these numbers here will showcase to me how many other pieces of work are hitting that particular target. So if I zoom out, I can click on that piece of that number, and it's going to show me the other pieces of work. So I can see she's hit it in this particular piece of work, this work, and this work. So depending on what you deem as secure, it may be that she's not quite secure, maybe she's still working towards because she's only hit it with 3. Maybe 3 is you feel that is a secure level. It's entirely personal preference per school, but that is how you would then tag that particular statement against that piece of work. So to show that, I then just need to load Lottie's account. You can see there, those are targets. And as I scroll down, I can see the pieces of work that I've sort of tagged against certain targets. So that is accessing content and the assessment. Right, we're going to talk about QR code logins now. Again, there is a video on YouTube about how to do this. It's a 1-minute video, so it's really tiny. But we can generate QR code logins for students. So I think we've all had those sessions, especially with the younger students, where you're trying to get them logged into a site and Johnny adds in extra H's and Harry adds in extra R's, and it all goes horribly wrong before you've even started your lesson. So this hopefully will remove that barrier completely, meaning that you can just get straight into your teaching aspect of the lesson as opposed to just the getting into it. So we do have 2 different QR codes, and these are generated through Dashboard. So J2 Dashboard off your My Files is here. It might be in a slightly different space on your launchpad. And then we're going to go to the Classes tab. And you'll notice at the top of your page will be a QR code button. So this button here. Okay. So we then click on that, and then you choose your class out of a list. So because you're a managed service, they should already be preset and set up for you. So I can choose class 1, and we got 3 different options. Now I won't worry too much about this one. This is how we can link up parents with the parent portal. So ignore that one for now. We've got login codes. So these are for younger students, and class code, that's for older students. So if I click the class codes to start with, so these are the younger students. So this will generate a QR code per child. So they're personal, printable, and permanent. So you can print these out, chop them up, laminate them if you really want to. Just be mindful of shiny laminate because that can disrupt the signal with the camera. I've learned that from personal experience. So maybe get the matte ones for these. So the children will either open up their camera app on their device, scan this, and it logs them straight in, or they can open up the J2E app on iPads, or they can open up j2e.com on their Safari or their internet browser, and then use that QR code button that I showed you on the launch area, and that will log them straight in. So they don't need a username, don't need a password, they just need their QR code. So you've got your print button at the top. So that is one version for younger students, or you could use that across the whole school if you wanted to. Now this one is slightly different, and they've made some changes. They always do this and they don't tell me. So this is the class QR code. I would recommend this for older students. And this is slightly different in that it has an expiry time. So this QR code will expire after an hour. That doesn't mean if a student logs in using this, doesn't mean it kicks them out after an hour. It's just this QR code is only valid for an hour. So this is slightly different in that you put this on your board, the students hold up their device, they scan it, and then they have to choose their name out of a list. And then it will log them in. So you have to really trust that they can identify their own name, that they will choose their own name, even if they can identify that they are mature enough to choose their own name, and to be able to use a QR code without support, be able to hold it up from their table wherever they're sitting. So that is an option as well. Now for the managed services, you do not have the option to have a password. So it is by default, it'll be a no password sign in with this one. With a manual account, you can switch the password on or off. So, but I think the majority of you are joining us from a managed service. So it would automatically have no password sign in. So that is how you can get your students logged in quite quickly and easily using the QR codes. So students would have three options for logging in. They can either use the printable personal QR code login code. Okay, so that one. They can use the class code where they choose their name out of a list. That's temporary. And it doesn't require a password if you're a managed service. Apologies. Or they can just log in using their usual C2K, Glow, Hub credentials from the J2e.com site. So that is easy access. Right, J2 Create. So this is a really robust tool. It's like the best bits of Microsoft Word, Publisher, and PowerPoint all in the same tool. And it allows users to add text and edit text very easily, add photos and pictures, change the background page color. We've got paper backgrounds as well. There's accessibility settings built in, so your text-to-speech, speech-to-text, word lists are all built into J2 Create, same as JIT Write. So great progression for students that may still be using those in the other tools. It will jump up into J2 Create, and the logos all stay the same. So we've got that continuity. They can also utilize multimedia tools such as video and sound and inputting those, and things like adding hyperlinks. So at a basic level, it's just adding text, changing the background, adding photos, but you can build on those skills really quickly and easily, making sort of multi-page hyperlinking documents, for example, or making big presentations, same as you would using your PowerPoint. So let's have a quick look, shall we? So as I said, J2 Create used to be called J2E5. It only changed its name in August, so we're all still getting used to it. But also we're in that transition phase where a lot of our help content will probably still say J2E5. So just be aware if you see J2E5 written on anything, or if you watch any of our videos on YouTube and J2E5 is referenced, it just means J2 Create. It's the same tool. It works in exactly the same way. It's just a different name. So we'll open up J2 Create, and here we go. So it's a blank piece of digital paper, essentially. What's nice is you can click anywhere and start typing. So unlike other tools where you have to, click in a text box and then it's impossible to move that text box and it can get quite frustrating quite quickly, we have free formatting, so you can click anywhere and start typing. So I'm going to add Titanic just because created a chart earlier around the Titanic, so I can add that in as a presentation. So that doesn't look like a heading, obviously it's a bit small, so I can double click on that and I can use these blue boxes in the corner and I can make that bigger or smaller. I can also click and hold and move it around the page if I want to. And then along the right hand side I've got things like changing my font, so I can make that a bit bigger. I've got various fonts that I can choose from, so I've got 10 preset ones. You can set some favorites and also the more fonts, so we have 1700 fonts for you to choose from, so you can look at those and see if any of those are suitable. We can also do things like highlight, or we can add things into filled boxes, so we can click filled here and change that into a nice, let's go for a blue box. I can centralize the alignment. I can also make the box smaller or change how many lines it's on, so change the size of my text box. I can add things like border, and there we go. So let's move that there. So that's adding text and editing text. Our page options are here along the bottom. So if I zoom in just so you can see, we've got page orientation, page color, and paper backgrounds. So I'm going to change my page orientation so that it's landscape, because that's better for a presentation. There we go. I'll show you the paper backgrounds. So if I click here, I've got various that I can choose from, some more appropriate than others. There we go. Lovely. Now, if you add in a paper background and you want to get rid of it, you just click on that white box at the top. So sometimes that trips a few people up. So you do need to remove the paper background if you don't find one that is suitable. Then we've got the paper color. So if I right click here, that's going to give me lots of different options, she says. Let's try that again. Gotta love a live demo. Let's try and add a page. Okay, so it's working on that page. It's just this page that it's decided not to work on. Let's go for a different color. There we go. Don't know what was going on. You can also click here and then use your rainbow along the right hand side and change the color that way. So there's two different options there. There we go. Okay. I'm going to make that lighter because otherwise I won't see my text. Let's go for light blue. There we go. So that's changing your page background. You've also got things like grids, so you can add in snap grids. There are some isometric grids, and we can change the grid type there. So that is an option if you're doing things like maths resources. They can be really helpful. And then we've also got the photo pictures button. So this one here, it opens up into our My Files. So if you've added anything in your My Files, you know, if you've dragged anything in from an external source, maybe you've created a video on something, maybe you've taken some photographs, maybe you've been off to the Titanic Museum and taken some photos, so they can drag those in as long as they're in the My Files. They do have the take picture tools. They can take pictures directly into it. And then that is the chart that I did earlier. So I'm going to drag that onto my page. You've got the choose file. So if you've got it and it's saved maybe on your school server, for example, so you can access that by clicking on the choose file. And then this button here is the search tool, so we can look for Titanic. And that will pull up some Google images. So it passes through a child safe search, so you're not going to get any nasty surprises coming up. They can drag these images on. There's also the option for clip art. So that's really good maybe if you're using things like, there might be a flag, white star flag. No, there's not. For things like maps or just PNG images, basically. Let's see if they've got white star. There we go. So I can add that in, and that white background should disappear. There we go. Okay, and then I can make those images bigger, move them around. So this is some data taken from the Titanic database that we have. Now, I'm not going to explain how to use that today, but we do have various pre-recorded webinars, and we also have, I'm sure we have a data webinar coming up sometime this term. I'm sure I would have scheduled one. And then the other thing that we can do, some classes like, when we click on a photo, we've got the convert to jigsaw. So you can make any image into a jigsaw. So great for you early years teachers out there, if you want a jigsaw activity for them dragging and using the drag option. You can change how many pieces is involved in that, so we can make that a lot more difficult. You can add things like a hint and a solve button and a scatter button. And if I go to the view, I can scatter that, and then I can drag that around, and it should, if you get the right piece, that's not the right piece, it should, is this one? There we go, pop into place when you've selected the right pieces, and then you can move that around as a whole piece. And there we go. And then we hit save, and that is going to save Titanic September 24. I've got a mental block with how to spell Titanic, apparently. There we go. And I hit save, and that's going to save, yes, into my files as a file. So this is a great resource for the students to create their own presentations, but also for you to create resources as a teacher. You know, for activities that they come up to the board, you can create an activity and you can share it with them as well, and they can have a go. So you can do a starter template, for example. Right, I'm running behind as per usual. So this is just some examples of cross-curricular use of J2 Create. So this is a hyperlinking solar system document. So each page links to a different, so each planet links to a different page, and it's a research project there. Now there is a live lesson on YouTube, which I'm going to talk about in a second, on how to do that. Science investigations, mind maps, column edition, these are all on the library, and they're all using J2 Create to make. Right, we're going to talk about J2 Journal very quickly. So this is a brand new tool. We introduced it back in June time. And it allows teachers and students to collate evidence in a digital portfolio or journal or profile, whichever one you want to talk to, whichever phrase you want to use. You can sort and filter using folders. You're able to comment and review any content that's submitted. It's visible via the parent portal if you choose to use the parent portal. So that's certainly something I'd encourage schools to have a think about at some point on your Just2easy journey. And also the JIT and J2 Create files, they now offer a publish to journal feature, so you can click on those files when you're in them and send it straight to the journal. I'm going to have to, there we go. So let's have a look at journal. So journal is here. And this is what a journal will look like when it's created. So you can see here that we've got content that's been created by this child here. So this is Rosie. So she has created these files. Okay. And I can see which teacher has submitted them if it is a teacher that has submitted them. Pupils can push their own content. So Rosie has submitted this particular piece of work. And if a parent is linked via the parent portal, you'll also be able to see if a parent has seen that journal entry as well. All stakeholders can comment on a journal. So parents, pupils and teachers. You can switch off parental commenting if you want to. And as the year sort of goes on, you'll end up with a nice feed of content that either pupils have pushed themselves or teachers have submitted. So let's have a look at creating our own journal. So we're going to click New Journal, and then we select a class who is going to have visibility over that. So class 1 is my demo class. So let's have class 1. You can call it anything you want. So if it was, I don't know, Miss Kimball's class, you could have Dolphin's class, whatever it is that you call your class. It doesn't have to be what the registration class is called. And then we click create, and that opens up our brand new journal. and then you can submit content. So students can do this, teachers can do this. We click new. You've got the option to title it. So this might be, I don't know, Titanic lesson. And then you could describe what you did in that particular lesson. And then you don't have to, it's optional. We click add file. So these are all the different file formats that you can add into journal. So photo, audio, video, you can take those directly in to a journal entry. So I think this would be really useful for showcasing to an early years class, demonstrating what's going on in school for home, for example. So you don't even need to take it using the video, photo or camera tool. You can take it directly into the journal entry. You can add a link. You can add content from your own My Files, or you can add content from a Pupils file. Sorry. Excuse me. So the pupils have created content. So if we look at pupil files, it's going to load all the pupils that were in that class. So let's load Lottie, for example. She's done that supermarkets work. I can add multiple files from multiple places. So if I've got two pupils that have worked together, but they've created one file on one account and one file on another account, I can delve into those two different pupil files. And then I've got the upload button as well. And then when I'm happy, I go to next. I tag the students that are involved in that. Dear me. So I'm going to tag Lottie, click next. And then I can add folders as a teacher. So you can think about kind of the sections that you might want to sort of segregate it into. So you might have using ICT, for example. You might have English or literacy or using communication. You could have, I don't know, digital leaders. You can create your folders however you want. You've also got the option, once you've created them, you can rename them and change them. And then we click add item, and that has added that into that journal entry. And if your parent portal is linked up, the parents will get a notification as well. Pupils can submit content, but it has to be reviewed by a teacher. So if they do that, it will appear in this review section. That's for comments and for submissions. So you have that safety net. Nothing is going to go public unless you authorize it as a teacher. As the year goes on, so if we look at P1, we can look at things according to folders. So maybe you're an English lead, so you might want to look at the reading content, so we can streamline that. That's all users, but we could stream that according to, let's go for Rosie and see what she's done. So that's showing me just work that that Rosie's been tagged in. With journal, teachers can see however many pupils have been tagged into a piece of work. Parents and pupils will only see the plus one more. When they click on the one more or the two more or the five more, nothing will show. So you have that security net of knowing that a parent won't be able to see which other children were involved. They'll just know that it was a group activity. So that is journal. We are running a session. I know that was a very quick introduction. We are running a session next week on Parent Portal and the journal, and I will go through it a lot slower. So for those of you that are interested in that, please join us for that session next week. Okay, so that is journal. Hopefully I won't be coughing this time next week. Now we're going to talk about the library very quickly before we finish. This is another great place to start. If you are brand new to the site and you're not quite sure what you're doing with it, you can use pre-made content on the library. So from the launchpad, you've got the library tile up here, and you have access to a resource, a community resources. So these are all within various areas of the curriculum. So if we look at Titanic, let's stick with that topic, and I type in Titanic, that's going to bring up a variety of different activities. So for example, I might want to use this Titanic newspaper. 2 seconds. Okay. So if you like that, You could then set that as homework, and you can share that with your students. Now the students will only have access. I'm just going to go back and choose something. Here we go, Titanic postcard. If I want my students to access it, I have to go to share, and I can either share as a whole class, or I can find individual users to share it with. Now students will only have access to content that's handpicked and shared by a teacher. So they will have a completely blank library until something is selected for them. When you're ready, you click OK. Now, if you prefer, you can set that as homework. If you are setting it as a homework activity, it doesn't have to be homework. You could set this as a homework activity, but do it as a classwork activity. You don't have to share it. So when we click homework, that pre-populates a homework template. And you can just set that, assign it to a class, and they will have access to that. So just to give you an idea, again, I'm going to go back to Lottie's account. So for anything that I've shared as a teacher through the library, she would click on the library. There's that Titanic postcard. She can open that up. She sees the instructions. She can click on that postcard. This is made in J2 Create, so she could say, dear, I don't know, Johnny. Dear Johnny. She can do all the normal stuff, so she can change the font and that kind of thing. There we go. And then she can save a copy. So anything that she has changed in that will save as a fresh version in her My File. So you as a teacher can view that as evidence in her pupil files, so it doesn't stay within the library. So that is her copy. So when I go to her My Files, there's a Titanic postcard. If I click on that, you can see that's the work that she has done. So it's quite a seamless way of setting activities for the students to do. So that's library, and there are thousands of resources now. I think we're well over 2,000 resources. We might even be working towards 3,000 now. All teacher made, various aspects of the curriculum. So you'll find lots of templates. There's lots of phonics resources, and these are made. We've got an early years specialist who freelances for us, and she's made these right from phase 2 all the way up to phase 6 phonics. We've got various e-safety activities, coding activities, data activities. So for all aspects of the curriculum. Right, I've got 3 minutes. So our YouTube channel. This is where you'll find the majority of our content. We record all of these sessions, including this one. And these will all be posted to our YouTube channel. So I am going to start a new playlist called Webinars 2024/5. So we have all of our webinars are posted on there. We've got tips and tricks videos. So these are 2-minute videos, maximum 2-minute videos. They're a great place to help you get started. We've got how-to videos and live lessons. So these are a brand new concept that we've been doing for about a year now. We were doing one a month, but they've just taken off in popularity. So we're now doing them twice a month. So just to give you an idea, this is our YouTube channel, Just2easy TV. Please feel free to subscribe, and that will keep you notified when there's new content. And you can see I've got the webinars from last year. There's all of our webinars. Tips and tricks, these 2-minute videos I was telling you about. So QR code logins is there. Adding your own spelling lists, changing your site language, that kind of thing. And then these are our live lessons. So if I click on live lessons, these are the pre-recorded ones. So these are ones that you can access already. So the concept is that you log in as a teacher, and either you watch a recorded one or you join us for the live one, and I teach your class for you. So we'll base it around a tool, we'll base it around a topic. You're able to see the lesson being taught, kind of get some ideas for how you might teach it, and really helps to bolster your confidence, hopefully. So those are the pre-recorded ones. Now, if I scroll to the top of the page, it can be a little bit hidden actually, but there's no way that we can make this more obvious. The live tab here, these are all of the live lessons that we've scheduled before April, and they are on our events page as well. But you can see here we've got Space Week, we've scheduled some autumn shape poetry, coding. These ones are coming up this month because it is coding week after next, so we're doing coding. So join us for those, and they are geared towards a year group. So hopefully that will be useful for you to upskill alongside all this sort of CPD training that you've got. Further training, I did show it earlier, but just to remind you, you can go to just2easy.com/events. That lists all of the training like this, and it also we've added in the live lessons, so you can find the event details through this as well. There we go. I'm bang on 4:30 for once. These are our contact details. edteam@j2e.com. That will come through to Mary, Charlie, and I. So please feel free to ask us any questions through that. We're on Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. So those are our handles, and that is our YouTube channel. So also just talking about live lessons, if you want a shout out for your class, classes love that. You can ask us through any of those methods. Just message us somehow, and we will give you a shout out for a particular session. Right, I make it just after 4:30, so thank you ever so much for joining us. I am going to hang around and leave the chat open for questions. If anybody has any, please feel free to either unmute and ask me, or you can pop them in the chat. If not, thank you so much for giving up your precious time. It's been a pleasure as always, and hopefully we will see you again for another training session soon. I'm just going to gaze into the distance and look at my chat just to see if we've had any questions. You can ask me anything to do with Just2easy, even something we haven't seen today if you want to. You're very welcome. Thank you for the feedback. You're welcome. L Palmer, which system are you using? C2K. So I'll show you. Let me just go through the laborious process of logging into your C2K system. And then I will do the resource in a second. I will answer that question. Don't mind me logging in with someone else's login. Shh. Okay, so for C2K, to find us within C2K, within my school, you go to View All on the right-hand side. And then we're under the Online Learning tab. And we're usually on the second page. So that's how you'd find us through my school. The more you use us, the more likely we are to be one of your 9 tiles on your launchpad. Okay. Assigning a community resource. I'm going to answer that question. So here we go. So community resource. I'm going to find a random one that's been updated recently. So here we go. Tell a story. So to share it with your students, you can click share. And that's going to open up either your users, but you can click the option for classes. So you can assign that to a whole class or just individual users, just depends how you want to do that. And click OK. So they now have access to that through the library area. So that's one option. The other option is you can set that as a homework activity, which we haven't been through in today's session, but that is in the follow-up session, which is in October, where we go through the teacher tools. But yes, they'll be able to view that there. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Yes, there is a lot of information for a total newbie. Go away, have a play, and see how you get on. So when they scan their QR code, it'll be in their library. Yes, so the QR code gets them access to the site. So then I'm just going to show you. So this is Lottie. So imagine she scanned a QR code. This will log her in here, okay, so into a launchpad. So then to access that content, she then goes to the library. And there you go, there's that tell a story that I've just shared. Now, she only has access to anything that I've I've shared as a teacher. You can see there, she's only got shared resources. She hasn't got access to the community. And she can click in that, she can have a go, and she can save it to her own My Files. Okay. How do I add assistance to journal? Okay, so testing me now. Assuming your classroom assistants aren't in your registration class, which they likely wouldn't be. Your classroom assistants, thinking about it, they wouldn't need to be in the journal. So as a teacher, if you see in my journal, I have full visibility over all of the journals. So I don't need to be in a class to be able to see it and to post in it. So that's not an issue. They would see all of the classes. So I hope that has helped Miss Devlin or Mr. Devlin. Any other question? I'm just going to check that I haven't missed any questions. Nope. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Any other questions at all? You're welcome. Okay, well, you have our contact details. So please feel free to get in touch if you have any issues with anything. Just go have a play, see how you get on, and join us for more training, obviously. Okay, I'm going to end the session now. So thank you so much for giving up your precious time, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Good night.